public always grinned when they saw that bus. It's like kids when they see an Easter egg. It's simple. There it is. It's colored. It's an egg. Nobody felt the slightest bit threatened by it.
Ken really believed that things could be changed, that consciousness could be changed. He saw himself as a kind of liberator for the generation. He saw the bus trip as a kind of going to New York, a kind of, Napoleon goes to Paris.
The best the bus ever was when we drove through Harlem. Had all these people running out and following us along in Harlem. All these kids.
Some 2 weeks later, the bus has somehow managed to get across the country. And once again, you encountered the bus.
Yes. 1239 Madison Avenue was where this apartment was that I knew about. The next morning, pranksters showed up. And they all came in with about 500 pounds of equipment. I mean, they just had wires and cameras and lights, and it was instantly strewn from one end of the apartment to the other. It looked like a bus, just like the inside of a bus. And so that night was this fantastic party that got sort of out of hand, and the poor doorman kept coming up and saying everybody was complaining, and on and on and on and on. And everyone was very excited that Kerouac was there, and he was getting really drunk, and Ginsberg came.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn looking for an angry fix.
Ginsberg is like a sponge. He can sop up all our poisons. I bought the record Howl. He was kind of like a folk singer to me more than a poet. I knew the sound of him reading before I read any of his stuff.
Set up, smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats, floating across the tops of cities, contemplating jazz.
And when we headed off on the bus, it was only natural that we should head to New York and try to find Ginsberg and Kerouac.
Unfortunately, it wasn't like meeting the author. It was more like, see if we can get him to respond to our antics, which didn't happen. He was not enthused with our craziness.
The thing you gotta realize about Kerouac, it was like he was already sort of an old guy and kind of out of it. He was already crystallized. He was kind of a sad character.
We had been accepted by the old gunfighters, this is the real heavies in our mythologies. Kerouac, Cassidy, Ginsberg.
Neil was more on the right track when he got started with the beat movement.
Kerouac and I met him in 45, so he was only 20 then. And within that year, he and I had a romance that lasted on and off for, till at least, I think the last time we were in bed together was 66, so that's 21 years.
I got a whole theory about this man. What he was the real smart Catholic boy who got sucked up by Kerouac. But he was real poetic, like all these Irish Catholics are. And he got in with some poets, and he got aspirations. And somebody plants a little seed of how great you can be because you're so great, so sexy, so poetic. He fell in love with that idea, which was something he couldn't possibly achieve. So then he was split between the two worlds. He couldn't create anything for himself. He couldn't get it together with a lady and have a good family. He couldn't go off and be a faggot with Ginsberg. He couldn't be anything.
It's an exact mimicry of Ginsberg 20 years ago.
Ginsberg used to be wild, huh?
Ginsberg's
so cool now.
He used to run over Columbia rooftops, waving genitals and manuscript.
The whole point of the trip, supposedly at least in the beginning, was everyone was going to go to the fair.